This is the VIP Late Lunch with Lee Sterry on the Voice of Niagara, News Talk 610 CKTB.
Every now and then on a Monday, we talk with this young lady, Renee Rebello, life coach, financial strategies owner, operator, founder, among a gazillion other things that she does, and a financial motivational speaker, an award-winning industry leader, nominated for another award, we find out.
Yes.
As well. What's this new award that you're up that you've been?
I'm a finalist for.
You're a finalist for.
Yes.
Thank you. That's the right term I was looking for. Yeah.
I was like, no, I didn't win it yet. I hope.
Yeah.
Wealth Professional is an organization that publicizes magazines in our industry across Canada, and for the second year in a row, I'm a finalist for philanthropy and community give back. So quite an honor.
Yeah. Good for you. Congratulations.
Yes, they're coming to videotape me Wednesday morning, so stay tuned for that video. Last year was pretty funny.
We've already talked behind the scenes here for longer than we have on the air with you, and there's so many things that we could talk about. Absolutely fascinating, the work that you do, and unfortunately, when we only have this one segment to do this once in a while, we have to be very focused and talk and take just one little piece, one little slice out of this massive pie that you deal with on a daily basis in your business. And we touched on this weeks ago.
Yes.
And it's something that you've got very close experience with, and that is what we refer to as the sandwich generation.
Yes.
And that's something you deal with.
It is something that I've come across personally, and then I'm seeing it a lot more in clients that are coming into my office and people who are being referred to me. And the sandwich generation was a term created in 1981 that was to define people who were sandwiched between the obligation to care for aging parents and the obligation to care for their children that are still financially and emotionally dependent on them. Mm-hmm. And so I find myself in that situation currently. I have grandparents that are, in their 90s, and my father passed away, so this is now on me. And I have children that are, 18, 19, and financially dependent on me.
And they need you as well.
Correct.
So you're being pulled and stretched in different directions.
Many different directions. And dealing with mindsets, right? When it comes to my grandparents, and I'm sure other people can relate that are listening, they live in Oakville. They've lived in the same backsplit 4-level, many stairs house since they built it before I was born, and they're not seeing that this is now not a healthy option for them, and trying to communicate with them and express that to them has been difficult.
And the thing is that there are a lot of people that are in these kinds of situations, and they're really not quite sure where to turn, and it's stressful.
Yes.
And the fewer places they have to go for advice, the more stressful it gets, and that's where you come in.
Well,
so you're a great advisor in this.
Well, I'm learning lots because as a professional, I've been giving advice for years on the financial aspect of it. But now going through it personally, I've realized that the system is not easy to navigate at all. And it comes to the point where it's down to finances. It really is down to what can they afford? What can we afford to bring in to help them to stay in their home? If they need to go into a retirement living situation, where's the money coming from? And then making sure that things like the power of attorneys are in place. So a lot of people, for example, might have power of attorneys and wills that are from 25 years ago. Mm-hmm. So you've got your brother listed as your power of attorney from 25 years ago, but today, if something happened, can he physically take care of what's needed? And there's a lot of things that are needed with that. My
wife and I just went through that recently. We renewed everything. We just revisited it and did the whole thing all over again.
Well, the laws have changed. In the last couple of years, the laws have really changed when it comes to estate planning, which is typically done through the will. But the power of attorneys, even the rules at each institution are different. So, for example, my grandparents deal with 3 different banking institutions, and each one of them had different rules when it came down to exercising the power of attorney. Meanwhile, he's in the hospital because he has, decided he wanted to feed the chickens in the backyard, which clearly don't exist. And so, and I'm like, so you want me to bring him in?
Yeah.
How does that work? So each institution has their own rules. So navigating that and then finding out what is available for them, what's available for me as the person who's trying to, run a business, deal with teenagers, and now trying to figure out what's best for my grandparents financially and mentally and for their health. So it's a challenge.
And so if somebody has been listening to this and they, you're kind of describing what I'm trying to deal with right now.
Right.
How do you go about assisting clients like that?
Well, first we need to look at their finances to see what it is that the power of attorney, or even the seniors or the people who are looking at retirement living are looking to what they want to do. So do they want to stay in their home? Do they want to go into retirement living and be social? What is it that they want? And then are the financial resources there to do it? Mm-hmm. So a lot of times you'll hear people say, well, we're going to sell the house and use the money from the house. Well, then is it going to last long enough to pay for the retirement living? Is it going to last long enough to pay for their health? And if they pass away prematurely, how is that going to transition to the next generation so the government gets as little of that pie as possible?
Right, because if you are selling a home, for example, if that's part and parcel of the process.
Correct.
Hopefully there's going to be some funds left over, and then it's what do you do with those as well. So you'll advise people on that as well.
Yes, and we're talking like usually a large sum of money. Because
these days with real estate the way it is.
And that generation doesn't have mortgages typically, right? Mm-hmm. So most people have very little to almost no mortgage. So they're talking about a large sum of cash. So you're talking between $500,000 and $1 million of now you have this in cash. So what do you do with it so that it will last for your retirement living and still cover your health needs and anything else that spring up that you might need, care, personal support workers.
And that isn't overly risky so that you are assured that you're going to hang on to it.
Right. And this is where segregated funds, and I don't usually get into products, but segregated funds are the insurance industry's version of investments, and they allow you to name a beneficiary on that money. So it will bypass the estate, which is very strong in estate planning, and to get the kids the money quickly after you pass away. So you retain control of the money while you're alive, or your power of attorney, and then on your death, it rolls outside of the estate. So there's a lot of different things you can do. Mm-hmm. A lot of people do joint ownership. That is interesting because it has some liabilities attached to that, and the government's starting to hammer down really big on that now.
And one of the topics that has been top of mind over the last week as well is if you end up having to have someone that is in a long-term healthcare facility, and those kinds of things, and how do you source that out, and how does that affect your finances and all of those other things? Well,
it's interesting because I had looked at a home in Grimsby for my grandparents, and it took them, I talked to them for about a month about it, and in that month they were 7th on a waiting list. So there's a need out there, and yet you want your loved ones to be close to you. So these conversations need to happen earlier, because having to do it in a time of crisis is the worst time to do it.
No question. Renee Rebello is the owner-operator, Life Coach Financial Strategies, MyLCFS, MyLCFS, which stands for Life Coach Financial Strategies.ca, is the place to go. Renee, thank you. And our next Savvy Saturday here on 610 CKTB is when?
May 26th.
May 26th.
Yes. Thank you for having me today, Lee.
Oh, my pleasure. And that's what time and day again for people?
Oh, Savvy Saturday is on Saturday.
Yes,
11 a.m. right here.
How coincidental.
Till they move me to Friday or something. And then I'll be like, oh no, I need a new name.
Yeah. Okay. We look forward to it.
Thank you so much.
Thanks, Renee. 115, 610 CKTB. We're going to talk Friday's windstorm with Ryan Rosinski of Environment Canada after the break.